Hello, and welcome to the About Healing podcast, a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys, and who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I am your host, About Healing medium and certified spiritual healer, Sheree Buckman. It is my purpose to guide others to the path of self-healing and to inspire those on their spiritual journeys in finding their truths. Join me as I share my experience and unfiltered perspective in healing, as well as the incredible wisdom of the loving energy that guides us. Let's begin. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to, can you believe it? The last full episode of season 3. Oh my goodness, Copper.
I know. We're here.
Ah,
We're here.
we're here, and we get to take a break. Yes.
Yay!
Love you all out there, but a weekly podcast takes a lot out of you.
So much. Yeah.
We are definitely ready for our break, and what perfect timing with the holidays here and to take care of ourselves. We have a really fun episode here, and we have Rachel with us. Hello, Rachel.
Hello.
You guys have all heard me talk about Rachel here this season. Rachel is the newest member of the About Healing team. She helps me with all the work in the background within my LLC because I cannot possibly keep up anymore. So she is amazing, and I'm so excited to have her. And plus, she's another very good friend of mine. So, man, I'm blessed. I've got 2 of my besties that help me with all of this gorgeous, amazing work. So, yay! I'm so grateful for you guys. Party time. And it is. That's why Copper, when we meet, she's like, okay, focus. We don't have 3 hours to sit here and talk.
Right.
Okay, fine. We have lives outside of this.
Oh, I was going to say they're not exciting lives, but we have lives outside of this.
They are too exciting. They're just lives, and our lives we have to do mundane things in between.
Busy.
It's
Yes.
balance. Can't all be exciting. Well, before we get started with our episode today, and our really fun episode, and I'll explain that in just a minute, of course, I just want to go in and a few announcements that I have before we wrap up this season. And first of all, I am going to start with my gratitude. I have to start with my gratitude. Thank you all for bringing me to this moment of, season 3. You know, it hits me a lot, and I know I've discussed this a few times, but when we get on our Podcastics, that's our main page, what we use to send our podcast out to the world, to all the servers, it collects our numbers and everything else, and the numbers are growing. And I can't believe it that it even gives percentages. Like for other podcasts that use the same application we do, it puts like a percentage of where our podcast is. And believe it or not, even though we're a small podcast and growing, like, to show how far it's come, because not many podcasts last this long, we're in the top 20%. Did you notice that, Copper? Top 20%.
I did. Yeah, because I watch that thing like a hawk. That's my jam is those numbers. So.
But I just looked at it recently. I'm like, what? How is that possible? Like, what? I'm like, okay. It's not all the podcasts out there, people. I'm not like, this is not compared to the top 1%ers, but this is within our application. So I just mean that it's really exciting, and it's something I am very grateful for, as well as this team that I have here that helps support this, but it's the listeners. This wouldn't still be going if it wasn't for all of you. So thank you very much. And I can't wait for what's to come, because if we've made it this far, I can only imagine what the future holds for us. So, again, with this being the last full episode of this season, I just wanted to let you know, but we still have a bonus coming out next week. So stay tuned for that bonus. So there's still something coming for you, a little nugget to get you through the holidays. And, the last 2 things that's going on in my work, I just wanted to share with the holidays here. This is that time of year where I put my biggest discount of the year. It's 30% off of my gift certificates for my sessions. That means any session is 30% off. You just have to buy the gift certificate. The link, it's on my shop, About Healing Shop on my website, abouthealingmedium.com. And then the last thing I just want to mention is to plant that, that reminder out there that the About Healing Retreat, my big baby, this beautiful event of self-healing, of connecting with one another, for all of you light workers out there, all of you healers, teachers, mothers, therapists, whatever it is, if you feel so drawn, this is that time where we learn from other amazing people on how do we take care of each other? How do we take care of ourselves so that we can keep doing what we need to do? So the retreat, the early registration, which is the biggest discount you will see on this registration, lasts until December 19th. On December 20th, the prices go up. So go in and take a look or register now for those early discounts. You'll find all the information on my website, again, abouthealingmedium.com. So yes, that's enough of my announcements. Let's get on with this really fun episode. So let me explain what this episode is. So I have Rachel on today. She, again, is a very good friend and part of our team. And one thing that's been happening lately, and it's not just her, it's a lot. I have clients, I have friends. So many people have been asking me a lot of questions about what I do and how it works. Rachel is definitely one of those too. So I decided to do a whole kind of another Q&A portion directed at, it's not just about how I do what I do, some of it is, but it's the questions of how do some of these things work. To my best ability, I will answer them, and to my current understanding. Always remember that we're always learning and growing, but I'm going to give you what I know to be truth in my experience thus far. And so with all that being said, welcome Miss Rachel, who's going to be the host and guide us on the tour today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to find out lots more information.
Yeah, and please know, we did not practice these questions. Like, I didn't answer these. So let's go. Let's have fun with this.
Okay, well, we'll just jump right into it then. So, we did receive an email from one of your listeners named Alcelin, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. And so she kind of had three questions that were related. And I think probably something that most of us wonder is, how do you receive a message? Do you see what a soul's showing you? Do you hear like the soul's actual voice? And can you identify that soul by name?
Ooh, okay. All good questions. And so let's break this down. It's not an easy answer. So how I receive messages, just know that, every medium is different. There's something what we call the clairs, which is like clairsentience, clairvoyance, claircognizance. It's how we perceive information that's coming in. So for me, I'm clairvoyant, so I can see through my mind's eye. So I can see people, I can see pictures, I can see almost like movies playing in my head. So that's kind of how they bring me information, where I can see things. It's not always in the greatest detail, and sometimes I can see every detail. It just depends. I can also feel things. So clairsentience. So when I feel things, this is more emotional. So I feel the emotions of those coming through. That is always important when I'm bringing messages, when they want to clarify kind of how they felt or how they feel about that person or a situation. So I always felt that that's really important. I do get some claircognizance, which is that just knowing things. That's not my top one, but that does come in. Clairaudient is the way we hear, right? So when we hear things, our clairaudience, it's usually not like a physical hearing, not like someone is literally whispering in your ear, but it's as if you can hear the words coming through. It's like when you have a memory of someone talking to you, it's kind of like that. So you can almost like hear the tone. Like if you have a memory of your parents speaking to you and you hear that tone of voice and how they said it, it's kind of like that. So really, so my main ones is I see through my mind's eye. I can hear, I mostly feel actually emotionally. And I forgot to mention the other one is that I also can feel things physically. So when I am, connecting with a client or with a spirit, with a loved one, and they want to talk about maybe how they passed, sometimes this is a way of validation for my client. They'll make me feel physical sensations of maybe physical ailments they went through during life. So like if someone had a heart attack, I'll feel a big tightness in my chest. If someone had a brain aneurysm, I might get a headache or like a stinging pain that it's like in one little spot in my head. At one point, I felt like my leg went completely numb. Come to find out that this one, didn't have a leg. They had lost a leg. So, I mean, I can feel these physical sensations, which is really interesting. So, what was the second question? I don't know if I answered them all together, or did I get them all in there?
The only other question she asked is if you can identify a soul by name. Do they come to you by their earthly name when they're speaking to you, or you just know who they are based off of other information?
Usually it's other identifying information. So, I mean, this is something, it's happened once or twice where I've gotten a name or something that sounds like or a letter wise. No, that's not normal for me. Let's just answer it that way. It's not normal for me to actually receive an actual name.
When you talk about who you're getting messages from, you always refer to them as spirit. I think
Mhm.
people who aren't necessarily familiar with everything that you do, we're more familiar with the term ghost. So, what is the difference between a ghost and a spirit?
Oh, this is actually a really good question. I'm very excited you asked this because there is a difference, at least for me, in how I understand things. So that's one thing when I tell people what I do and I say I'm a medium, people automatically go to the scary portion, right? Because we have all the ghost hunter shows and everything's out there. Ooh, that's scary. But for me, it's something that's very different. So, spirit, that's who I connect with. Spirit, in my definition and how I understand it, or at least how I've defined it, is spirit are those who have crossed over, right? So these are our loved ones who have passed and who have gone to the other plane of where they go. So when they cross over and they leave the plane, they leave the ego behind. Okay, right? So here in our human form, when we live our life, we all have egos. The ego, you'll never get rid of, by the way. Again, this is this part of us that holds, jealousy and shame and anger and all of those emotions that are not always of the highest level, right? This is part of our duality. It is part of the reason we're here. So when our loved ones or when we cross over to the other side, the ego detaches. And so the spirit is kind of like that loving form. So no matter when a loved one comes through, they don't hold that judgment. They'll come through with a personality to make sure that their loved ones understand. But they have this awareness when they go over. So this is always out of love. It is always out of the full understanding because they always see the bigger picture when they pass and they don't hold that really limited view that we have when we're with ego and here on earth. So, right? More. While a ghost are those who do not cross over. So they pass and they linger. So that's like when you watch a lot of the movies that we've seen and they like the unfinished business and they stay behind, very Casper like, right? And his uncles not always as friendly as Casper, sometimes they can be, right? So these are the ones that even though they do not have a physical body, they are still with ego. So that's where you get the hauntings and you can get negativity and you can get positivity. You can get, those that have anger and all those things that still linger behind because they're still in the ego. They're still in this plane that we're in. So that is that big difference. And I'm so seriously so glad you asked because it's something I think I've been wanting to explain for a long time. So spirit are those who have crossed over, while ghost are those who still linger on this plane with ego. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like that answers a lot of the questions that we had about the difference between the two. Now, does the spirit have to make the choice to cross over? Are they making the choice to stay with their ego, or do they have to make the choice to leave all that behind?
That is another very good question. And while I may not have all the technical answers for this one, I can tell you on how this actually, what I again understand with those that I have connected with is that, with all the scenes. So when I sit in a session with someone, a lot of them will show me their end of life. Like, they will show me in flashback where I can see, and I will paint the whole scene for my client. My client will be like, "Yeah, that's really kinda how everybody's dead. That's exactly where the bed was," or whatever it was, but they're showing me floating, and they're floating, and they're watching the entire scene. The thing is that, yeah, they really do have a choice. But while I have also spoken with people who have had near-death experiences, and they've told me their side of things, like what happens to be that soul that is given the choice, is that most will choose to go. Because when it is time to cross over, there is this overwhelming, loving feeling like you want to. Trust me, you want to go. You want to be able to go into and cross over because it's not like it is here. Like you let go of everything. It is the most relaxed, the most loving experience. It's like every worry completely disappears. Every heavy emotion. And it's kind of like this big eye-opening experience like, "Oh, wait, that's what all this was about?" And they're like, "Oh, this was much easier." And you want to go over to the other side. On the other side of things, there are many reasons why some may choose not to go. Number 1 could be a very, very traumatic passing. Some extremely traumatic passings make the soul extremely confused, not knowing what plane they're on, not knowing what actually happened, and it's really, really, like, disorienting and confusing, and so some will linger here while they figure it out. And so which brings me to we've heard of a lot of hauntings where some are being haunted, like the same house, and you know that they've been there for like centuries. You know, they're from the 1700s or the 1800s, and they've been there for a long time. One thing that happens that when you don't have a physical body is that time is different. They don't know that days or years or centuries have passed. It doesn't pass in the same way as it does for us when we're in our physical form. So again, it's not like they've been sitting there for 2 centuries, minute after minute, trying to pass time. It I can't explain every detail to what or why that is, but I can tell you that it is very different for them. So for some of them, and that's why, like, when it comes to like I'm kind of curious. There are some that I would love to go and do some of these ghost huntings. Um, Only because the number one purpose that we want to do with those that are lingering is the number one goal, even for our guides and those guardian angels and all of those over on the other side. They're all trying to get everybody to cross over eventually. That is the goal. So we want to help them when they can. We want them to move on. Most of them are confused and lost, and they have no idea what is going on. And I know I keep going on, and now I kind of lost. Like, I don't even know what question you asked, but this is a really fun question to answer.
You answered it beautifully. So, okay. So you're talking about our spirits that give you messages, but then we also use the terminology spirit guides or guardian angels. I know from several of our conversations that our souls choose to come back to relive lives over and over again to learn lessons. So I guess my question is maybe threefold here. What is the difference between my spirit guide or guardian angel? Is it always the same spirit guide or guardian angel that has been with me my entire life? And when my loved one passes, for instance, I know that since my papa passed away, that he is always with me. But when his soul chooses to come back to earth for another life, will he not be with me anymore? Or is he able to still care and look out for us while starting a new life? There was a lot of questions thrown at you at once.
It was, but they're all related, and I totally get it. Okay, so let's go back to, I say the simple one. None of them are simple. So guides and guardian angels. It really depends on your own definition, right? So we all have guides. We all have guides. We all have mini guides at that. So the way that I understand it, at least for me, like I call it my main guide, right? And then I have a bunch of other guides that help me with different things. And those change throughout my life. So the main guide has always been the same. My main guide is that one that has, number one, been through many lifetimes with me, who will be through my entire lifetime with me, kind of like my ringleader, right? On the other side. He's like the big boss. That's what I call him. He's my big boss, and he wrangles and he does everything for me, and helping me, and for my best and highest good too. So sometimes he brings me lessons that I don't want to lesson, like a child screaming, and he's like, "Nope, this one you need. Here you go. But I'm gonna be with you, and I'll help you through it." And then I have a couple of others. So at least I'm talking about mine personally, because hopefully it'll make sense. So I have a couple of others. So I have, oh, I love this one. I say she. They're not always how we see like a human form would be. Some of them are. This one is not. Um, she's my fun guide. That's what I call her, my fun one. She is my reminder to always have joy. And she's also the one who reminds me how to just let loose and be. Probably also the one who inspires me and where I'm always loud and I kind of get into it. And I'll just dance in the middle of a crowded room and I don't care. And even if it's not a party, she's the one who helps me in that. And I have one who helps me like with writing. So I called in a guide to help me. I'm trying to be a better writer. So with writing a book or writing my newsletters or all of that, he's been there and helping me with that. I have another one who's teaching me how to work better with other people, to understand people on deeper ends, whether it comes to cultures, whether it comes to religion or whatever it is. She's amazing. So what I am trying to say is that we have guides that change depending on our needs. So we have specialists that'll come in for a portion that we need to. And we have the one main one that will be with us for our entire life. So for me, a guardian angel, that's a kind of a hard one for me to distinguish because maybe I haven't thought too much about that because for me, my guide is my guardian angel. So, but you might classify your guardian angel as a loved one who comes in and kind of helps you. So to me, that's more on what you believe that to be. I don't have a definition for a guardian angel personally. So I feel like I got those two. And now you were asking specifically about your papa, right? So, right, when he chooses to reincarnate. So I want to go back to for a second. This just makes me go back to remember, time is different on the other side. So when we leave this lifetime and we go into our other home, our place, back to where we go and the beautiful place, again, time doesn't exist. And when that happens, remember, we're not just like forced to reincarnate. So when we go there, it's not like, oh, okay, we're going to put you in another body, get ready to go. It's not like an assembly line where people are forcing you to go do these things that you don't want to do. It's all personal choice. It's all free will. It is free will, even on the other side. Remember, it's our egos here that are like, ew, this is gross. I would never do it again. Oh, this is my last one here. It's not that. I know that this is not my last one. I know I will always keep choosing to come back here and redoing and not just learning, but making sure that I can also teach and guide too. But at a certain point, when you do the research, no matter what it is, it could be a minute on our side, it can be decades, it can be centuries on our side before someone reincarnates, because they're taking their time. You get to choose when you come back. So whenever that may be, when he does reincarnate, it's true in my experience where I have connected with people who have immediately incarnated before, you won't they won't you won't have that you won't feel that connection of them talking to you so much anymore because their soul is back. You'll still have the memories, you'll still have all of those connections and everything else, but yeah, when they choose to. But most often, I will say it has been a rare thing for me to see, especially with clients, to see a soul. Out of the years I've been doing this and like the hundreds of readings I've done, I've connected with one that is reincarnated.
Well, that's very interesting. So our spirit guides have lots of different jobs for us. Is their main job to keep us safe, or is their job more to help us accomplish the lesson that our soul was sent here to learn? So can they alter our path in life to keep us safe and happy and full of love and light? Or is their job to help us learn those hard lessons that our soul came back to receive?
Oh, such another good question. Man, you're going deep on these. I love it though. Okay, so when it comes to our guides and how I understand this knowledge is during a session, I will often get taken back to the pre-life planning session. This is where our souls are planning with our guides and other loved ones about what we want to learn and why we're coming back and those kind of things. So the guides are involved here. The guides are literally just that, a guide. And so when we are planning our lives, before we enter. So again, when we're planning, when I say that, this is not like to a T, A, B, and C is going to happen. This is no definite blueprint. This is probabilities and possibilities, and with branches of backup options that are infinite. We couldn't even possibly understand or comprehend this because it's not made for our human brains to do that. We have limits with our human brain. However, it's like, well, if I make this choice, then these could be my options. Depending on what happens with this choice and those of others, well, this could happen, right? And so our guardian angel, I'm sorry, I went back to guardian angel, our guides, they could be the same, okay? Our guardian angel, oh my gosh. Wow, guardian angel wants to come out. I guess I do have something to say about angels in a minute. So remind me, Rachel, to come back to angels because I want to finish this other one first. I guess I do need to say something about angels in a minute. Okay. Going back to spirit guide. There we go. So in these pre-life sessions, I have seen it lots and lots of times with my clients when we're going into those, that they stand there and they're really there to help you make your choices and decisions, right? So while you're there, you're without ego, right? When we're planning a life, right? So we're talking about, so I've seen in my last few lifetimes that I've really struggled with self-love. I know that I really want to tackle it in this lifetime. Well, in order for me to do that, I need to set up circumstances that will force me to work on that for myself. So in order for me to see that and have that, I'm going to need to have situations or experiences where I'm questioning that, or people make me question how I feel about myself. So maybe you go into a family where you feel neglected or not loved or things like that, right? So you're creating these circumstances. Or you set up not only that, but I know that if I'm not able to heal myself or get out of that on my own, or with these support systems that I have planned to come into my life at a certain point to help me, well, if I don't learn it, then guess what? I need to have another experience come to me, and I need, now I'm going to get into a relationship and they're not going to treat me very nice. They are going to challenge my self-worth and all of that. And then I have to start making new choices. Depending on what choices you make will depend, if you start healing, then you've learned your lesson and you get to outgrow that. Otherwise, new lessons are going to come in different ways. So your guide is there, and they will usually, the way I've always seen it, or the way they'll say that, is that some of these souls will come in and they're like, you're like, I got this. I'm going to plan this really big experience. And they're looking at them like, are you sure you want to do that? Do you remember your other lifetime when you did something like that? We didn't do so well, did we? So it's kind of like that voice of reason, or like that conscience, like, are you sure? But in a very loving way. There is no judgment ever from your guide. It's, you know what, that is an amazing, I love that you want to do that, but, it's kind of like asking all the questions to make sure you've thought of all of the possibilities before you decide on that, right? To bring that big piece in. So when we actually activate and come into life, they're there in the background, kind of like I always see it like in a control center, like with all the buttons and things, but they're there to love you and guide you into the lessons and the experiences you want to go to. They're always rooting for you to make these beautiful choices for yourself, whether it is to heal. They're not there to stop these experiences from happening, because those need to happen. Those are the choices that you made that need to happen for you to help you grow. That is the whole point, right? So they are making sure they come in, but they're also the ones that are bringing in your other support system. So while you had this big, ugly experience, this trauma that came in, they're also making sure they're activating and working with other guides to make sure that this friend comes in, where all of a sudden you get guided to, this therapist to help you through it, or, that certain people are entering your life, or other situations that can help you through it. They're there in the background that are sending you signs, and they're that subtle voice in the back, that very Jiminy Cricket in the back of your head, who is like sending little signals because you see a commercial come on, and it's like, call, I don't know, maybe it's a medical one and it's about a therapist. And all of a sudden you're like, and you're actually paying attention, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I do need therapy. They're sending those signs to get you on the right track to show you. I know, another really long explanation, but I can't give a short one when it comes to this.
Well, it's beautiful to know that we have all of that support with us, and that we have
Yeah,
people like you who are able to help us understand that so much more. Now, you had something you wanted to say about angels.
I did because they kept popping in. Okay, so while I did not really answer the question about guardian angels, I want to go back to something else because I guess in my mind, when we're talking about guardian angels, a lot of us go to our loved ones who come in, those acts of big love where they came and like stopped a car accident from happening, right? We have those big moments. Well, they started popping in to say, you need to go back and talk about this again. Let me clarify here. There are such thing as angels, right? So I don't want to get into the religious aspect of everything, but let's talk about these beautiful archangels, right? These are a big, beautiful energy that we're not human. Angels are not human. They're not the human soul. This is something very different. This is of a higher vibration. I have seen them, but I have not fully communicated with angels. So, which is another interesting thing. I know you didn't ask the question, but that is something else that I want to mention when it comes to, different mediums. We, each medium, we are all at a very different frequency. Depending on each individual person's frequency where we're at will depend on who and what we are able to communicate with. And so while I have dedicated and all my intentions around my mediumship has always been about love and healing. And so that's who I connect with. I connect and receive information that has to do with love and healing. So whether a loved one comes in and needs to give a message to help someone heal or sever some old cords or whatever it is to bring healing in to a loved one, or spirit guides. I connect with them and I see them. I have gone into past lives. I have brought in pre-life planning, and I have seen, not necessarily communicated with the other higher beings. I can see angels, but I have not communicated with them yet. So maybe as my vibration raises, I'll be able to do that. So angels are present, and there are absolutely other mediums out there that specialize in communicating with angels. And maybe even some of you have that. It just depends on our frequency of where we're at and who and what we communicate with.
That makes a lot of sense. Right. I can see our time ticking away. I don't want Copper to give me a mean look, but
We're still good.
I do have a couple terminology questions for you here. Um, a lot of times when I tell my friends that I have a friend that's a medium or that I work for you that's a medium, um, I think they picture you with like scarves on your head, sitting at a little round table with a crystal ball, and so what is the difference between a medium and a psychic, and also the difference between a seance and a reading? Again, I think just terms that people hear, but we don't really understand what they mean in real life or in what you actually do.
Oh, no, I love this. Thank you for asking these questions because that's the thing. A lot of people, when I mention like, oh, I'm a medium too, like I get the big deer in the headlights because it brings up, that's the thing. We have these old, I guess, meanings or definitions from movies or from our own upbringing. That's what we have in our head. But at least for me, let's go back to the medium and psychic. So for me, a medium is someone who can actually connect and communicate with those who have crossed over, right? So those who have passed. So while a psychic is someone who is able to tap into people, maybe emotionally and things like that, as well as being able to receive information, again, with the claircognizant, like just a knowing, things like that. And so the one thing I want to clarify, some psychics can maybe see the future and things like that. That is not something, I don't ever do future readings. Because the one thing that I have come to understand, I may have started out in doing things like that in the very, very, very beginning, but I also learned extremely quickly that the future's fluid. Like I said, if we're coming into this life and we have this big plan, it's all free will. Depending on the choices we make and the choices what others make, it changes everything. I personally don't do them, but some people can. It's just understanding that. So medium is, again, those who can connect with those who have passed, while a psychic is just able to connect with people or receive information from those who are living. And then seance and reading, right? Ooh,
Yes.
I have to really think about this. Okay, so seance and reading. To me, a seance is like a group of people who are like calling in and trying to conjure up, like, usually anything. That's kind of what I see when you say that. Now, I could be wrong in my own terminology, but that's kind of what I see in a seance. Like, it's multiple people trying to conjure and connect with somebody, something like that. So to me, it's a group of people doing a seance. If you don't have to be a medium, that's to me what that is. And for me, a reading, that's what I call what I do, sessions or readings, is having, I guess you can say, a professional or someone who is able to do that, to do it for someone.
And you do offer several different kinds of sessions. It's maybe difficult for someone to understand what the difference is between the sessions that you actually offer on your webpage.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes. I do. So I used to always offer just one, and that's what I always wanted it to be. It was just my spiritual healing mediumship. However, I have found that, and when I was so guided, my guides I've asked them for help on this, and they've kind of clarified a few things that I'm trying this, is to separate it, because I want people to be able to come in, and if they can't afford the big package, I want them to have options. So I kind of broke it down. So let me talk about the main one, what I just mentioned, which is the spiritual healing mediumship. That's the one I have always done. This is that big one where it is a mediumship reading, but it is also about what you need right now in this time for your healing journey. This is always about connecting with you. And this is one, like, my clients don't normally talk during a session. And the less I know about someone, the absolute better, like way better. But I tap in and I can usually pull right in the beginning kind of what's on the surface of what they're going through, what needs to be healed, right? And then it gets guided. I have loved ones coming in, or I have guides coming in. It's whatever they need to hear from. Not always who you want, unfortunately, everybody. It's not always who you think it's going to be, but it is always who is needed. And so there's that big, beautiful, long session. And the difference with that big one is that that's not the only thing my clients receive is the one-on-one. They also receive healing guidance. So it's one thing to hear or someone to say, well, you're going through this, this, and this. Okay, now go and deal with it. That's not the point of my readings. My session, especially that one, is that the healing guidance is what I do after our one-on-one session. I sit down and I am connected again, and I'm writing a little mini book just for my client. This is healing guidance. Okay, now that you're going through this and this, let me give you guidance from your loved ones, from guides, on how you can go forward in healing that trauma or whatever it is you're going through. So I write this, and usually it's several pages long. It's this big, long thing, and it's individualized to that client. So I write all that out and I send it to them, and that's part of that first package. The second one is the intuitive mediumship. This is for those who don't necessarily want the email portion or the healing guidance portion. They just really kind of want to connect and have that one-on-one experience with me, with mediumship. So loved ones, guides, whoever it may be. So we do that, and it's still the session is still done the same, the live one, where I'm going to pull what's going on with you. I can tap into that, your loved ones, and then we're doing that. Just no big specialized healing guidance for that. And then the third, my last one, is the intuitive counseling. This one came up this year because I was having a lot more clients or questions, just helping them, guide them through their awakening experience, or they had something very specific they wanted to talk about and what to do. So that's what that one's for. That one's not mediumship. That one you're getting, I guess, more of what I said, that psychic experience. It's that intuitive part where we talk about it and I help guide you through what you're going through or just answer your questions. But that's just without mediumship.
Beautiful. Well, this was so much fun. I feel like I could just sit here for hours and just ask a million more questions and listen to all your amazing answers. It feels like we're just at lunch.
That makes me laugh because that's where this idea came from. Well, because I had already thought about it because so many people had started asking questions. And then Rachel and I went to lunch one day and she started asking these questions. I'm like, yep, let's do an episode. So I asked Copper, I'm like, Copper, how do you feel about doing another Q&A? But Rachel, thank you so much. I think that this was really fun. You asked some amazing questions. Obviously, I can talk about these things all day. So If anybody out there, if you're finding more questions that I didn't answer, or if it's just bringing up some more, please email us, email at abouthealingmedium@gmail.com. So you can email there or contact me on social media. You can get About Healing Medium on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Yeah, I'm now on TikTok. Ugh. Bear with me. I'm getting used to it. Anyway, my loves, beautiful angels out there, all of you beautiful souls, thank you so much for this wonderful, beautiful experience and for continuing this journey with me. I truly look forward to the new year and the new season. Stay tuned because there is so much more new things coming in the next season. I will share with you when that time comes. Until then, enjoy the holidays, enjoy your time, find some peace and self-care, and always, always remember to be kind to yourself. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at abouthealingmedium.com. You can also follow About Healing Medium on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find the episode's healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask a question or to share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to reach me on Facebook and Instagram at About Healing Medium. Until next time, be kind to yourself.